Emily Whistler, and this is my persuasive speech for Communications 101. And this is my audience. There are over 27 million slaves in the world today. Approximately 80% of these people are females, and 50% of them are children. Here is a graphical representation of the number of slaves according to the world population. And this says that there's 29.8 million slaves, and the world population is 7 billion. And it breaks it down to how many slaves are in each country. And I can pass this around after. Human trafficking is number 3 in the international crime industry, right under illegal drug and arms trafficking. According to the Polaris Project, human trafficking is a form of modern slavery where people profit from the control and exploitation of others. Human trafficking includes sexual exploitation as well as forced labor. This topic relates to you because you are women, and you may have younger brothers or sisters, or nieces or nephews. Even as believers, this topic is extremely rampant today, and it's important to be informed and prepared to go out and do something. I want to talk to you about human trafficking because I have a passion for these people, and I've communicated with a local woman who has been involved with organizations with trafficking. Human trafficking is an extremely difficult topic because there's so much people don't know about it, and I believe it's important to share and important to give ways that you can help. Through the rest of this speech, I'd like to tell you about some statistics there are on human trafficking today, show you some ways to get involved locally or through an online campaign, and to also encourage you with biblical exhortations and promises. To begin, I'd like to share some statistics with you. Human trafficking is a billion-dollar industry and is found in every area of the world, though some areas more than others. The United Nations say that human trafficking generates $9.5 billion yearly in the United States. According to the U.S. Department of Justice, the average age of entry into prostitution for a child victim in the U.S. is between 13 to 14 years old. The Polaris Project statistics show that the average victim may be forced to have sex up to 20 to 48 times a day. The 3 states that have the highest numbers of trafficking are California, Texas, and New York. But there are many other cities in other states that have high numbers as well. After knowing more about human trafficking and the seriousness, I want to give you some ways that you can help. There are many different ways you can help, and many different organizations and campaigns that have been created to face this monstrous issue of human trafficking, as well as educational videos that have been created for teenage students. One of the top organizations created is the Polaris Project, which I've mentioned before. The Polaris Project has many different areas to their organization. Created by the Polaris Project is the National Human Trafficking Resource Center. With so many calls and texts coming in all the time, volunteers are needed to answer those calls and texts. Other campaigns are the A21 campaign, Freedom 424, and Not for Sale, as well as many others. All of these organizations and campaigns need volunteers or money support. Lastly, I want to share with you some encouragement from the Bible. There are many verses that speak about helping others and having compassion on those who are hurting, and all of those apply to this gigantic problem in our world today. But there are also verses that relate more specifically to what you are to do as a believer for situations like these. Proverbs 31, 8 through 9 says, "Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, for the rights of all who are destitute. Speak up and judge fairly, defend the rights of the poor and needy." We can also take what Isaiah wrote in Isaiah 61, 1 through 3, and apply it to this issue. "The Spirit of the Sovereign Lord is on me, because the Lord has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor. He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim freedom for the captives, and release from darkness for the prisoners, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor and the day of vengeance of our God, to comfort all who mourn, and provide for those who grieve in Zion, to bestow on them a crown of beauty instead of ashes, the oil of joy instead of mourning, and a garment of praise instead of a spirit of despair. They will be called oaks of righteousness, a planting of the Lord for the display of his splendor. If there's nothing else that you're able to do, pray. James 5:16 through 18 says, "The prayer of a righteous person has great power as it is working." Elijah was a man with a nature like ours, and he prayed fervently that it might not rain. For 3 years and 6 months it did not rain on the earth. Then he prayed again, and heaven gave rain, and the earth bore its fruit. Prayer is so impactful and powerful, and if there's nothing else you can do, at least just pray. In conclusion, the issue of human trafficking is overwhelming, and action needs to be taken. The statistics are numerous and continue to grow, and organizations and campaigns continually need help and support from people who have compassion on these women and men who are hurting. The Bible clearly tells us what we are to do. When you go from here, share what you have learned, share your ideas and what you think we could do to help these people in need, and most of all, pray.